Yeah. Now I think I am audible. Hello everyone. Are we audible? Hi Nikalank, how are you? Yeah, you are not audible. I don't know what happened. You're not audible. One second, guys. One second. No, you're not. Wait. Yeah. Wait. 1 second. My bad. My bad. Yeah. Now are you audible? Speak something.
Hey, hi.
Yup.
I think there's a slight delay.
Yeah, there's a very minor delay that is obviously always there because of YouTube, obviously. So I hope Nikla, you can see the chat of YouTube. People are here.
Yes, I can. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, amazing. So guys, today we have a very interesting discussion planned with Nick over here. I think you all have seen him and loved his podcast. First of all, how was your reaction, Niklang, to the
Thank you very much, everyone.
है ना लाइक दैट इज लाइक आई थॉट जाएगा यार ये तो ऊपर जाएगा बिकॉज निकलांग सर के इतने अमेजिंग इंसाइट्स हैं तो ऑब्वियसली डिजाइनर्स विल लव इट तो गाइज ये डिस्कशन इसलिए प्लान किया है सो दैट यू गाइज कैन यू नो आस्क द बेस्ट मैन इन द इंडस्ट्री एनीथिंग रिलेटेड टू डिज़ाइन सो द स्टेज इज योर्स लेकिन मैं एक स्टार्ट करूँगा क्वेश्चन से निकलांग we are having
Sure.
basically giving you a background we are having a small event in the Discord server called Portfolio Palooza where people will have to make their own portfolio websites and
Okay.
the best one will win obviously and they will have to earn points and everything want to know is create having a proper portfolio website creates an impact or not.
No, so definitely. I mean, I think having a portfolio is your first foot in the door, right? That is the first screener or the first presentation of yourself. So it's extremely important to have a strong portfolio. Now you have to understand what a portfolio stands for, and you have to understand what you want to project in that portfolio. And just having a generic portfolio is not going to cut it, right? Because I'll be honest, making portfolios today is very easy, right? Back in the day, you really had to do a lot of work to create a portfolio, but today, because of the tools that are available, the templates that are available, there is a lot of content out there. So it becomes very difficult for a recruiter or for a client to understand, what they're going to get, and that's why judging a portfolio has become very, very difficult. And because it's become difficult, people tend to be a lot more strict, and they need to look at the finer details. So my advice always has been that first try and understand, how do you want to project yourself. Okay, what exactly do you want your portfolio to say about you? I think that is extremely important. What skills about yourself do you want to present, right? And then go and build your portfolio, right? And it's very important that when somebody looks at your portfolio, they should be able to understand that this was the problem statement, this was the effort that you made, and then this was the final outcome that came out of it, right? Now there are 2-3 approaches to this. You can show the output first and then dive into how you got there. The other one is you can showcase the problem and then show the process, and then have the ultimate reveal of what you delivered. It all depends on the approach that you want to take. No one approach is right or wrong, but there needs to be consistency in your portfolio. You need to be able to showcase all the assignments, the projects that you've done in a fashion that brings out your skill set very, very clearly. Kai baar aisa hota hai, we look at a portfolio and we are like, okay, so what all has the person done, right? Because that is where the judgment is going to be done on whether I should talk to you or not, right?
Makes sense.
That call to action is important.
So I think we have one question in the chat. Devjit is asking, how can a beginner designer start to grow, increase visibilities, etc.
Okay. So that's a very interesting question. In the beginning, I think when you don't have a lot of professional work, what you can do is you can pick up and create assignments of your own, right? When somebody is looking for a beginner, even if I can see that you've been able to figure out some interesting problems around you, that shows a skill, right? That shows that you have a keen eye, you have a keen observation, skill that I can give credit for, right? So this question, a lot of people have that, if I don't have any work, then what do I really showcase? And sometimes just college projects is not enough, right? That is okay, that's a starting point, but then I want to see how you can go above and beyond what you've been told to do, right? So pick up a project, pick up a product around you and do a audit on it, right? Give your take on what this product can be like, right? Give your take on how can Gmail be better? Are there any things in Gmail that can really enhance a user's experience? Are there any real problems that you faced in for example WhatsApp, right? Or is there anything new in a very apparent platform? Like, is there something that you can think of that Instagram can do better? Now, again, it's not like it is going to be life changing for Instagram, right? But if you've been able to take that effort and you've been able to identify something, that itself says something, right? It talks about your observation skills. And then if you say that, okay, fine, if nothing else, I can just want to do a new interface for Instagram, right? So that is where a beginner can, really push the door open and say that, okay, hey, listen, I don't have a lot of professional experience, but here is something that I would like to showcase my skills, with. So that I think is something that a beginner can definitely do, right? And then it's a question of networking, that you just need to be able to get yourself out there, go for a lot more, events, try and go and meet speakers after events that you're attending, right? Those are the things, and get feedback. Don't just say that, hey, listen, I want a job, or I want to work with you or anything like that. Just say that, hey, listen, it'll be great if you can just give me 5 minutes and tell me what you think, right? Show the curious side of you, show the willing to learn side of you, because if you're a beginner, then that's a great energy, that's a great skill that you can bring to the table, right? And if you do that and you get some really good output, in terms of insights and all that from the person you're talking to, but quickly go back to the drawing board, incorporate it, and go back to them and say that, hey, listen, I met you at so and so place, and this is what you said, and here's what I've been able to put together, right? And what do you think? Does it work, right? So I think that can be a great help to beginners.
Very interesting. I think this is what I did actually, Nikalank, that you were mentioning when we met on FOF summer event. And that's where I went straight to Nikalank and said, hey man, this is what I'm trying to do. Please join us on Designer. And I think a lot of people will benefit from your insights. And here we are. So I think he answered your question, Devjit. Anyone else? कोई भी question है, you can ask anytime. Okay, there's one question. Rohit is asking, is it risky to go with UI/UX after computer engineering? Cause many of my friends told it is tough to get first job.
So here's my honest opinion, right? I think engineers make great designers. Okay, because one of the biggest strengths that they have is that they also bring implementation to the table, right? The risk an engineer runs is if they bring in feasibility too quickly, right? You have to separate out what you want to do with, respect to how you want to do it. Some of the greatest designers that I've worked with are actually untrained designers. They actually don't come from design academics, right? Design vocation. They actually come from, I've seen lawyers become designers. I've seen, people from finance become designers, and they're all very, very good at it. So I don't think design has a entry barrier anymore. But engineers actually who go into design, I've seen do really, really well because they have the problem-solving mindset, that a designer needs to have. And about getting your first job, yeah, honestly, first job ki guarantee koi nahi deta, right? I've seen a lot of people come out from design school that I would find very difficult to work with, right? So it's not that if you are coming from a design background that assures you, and that line is blurring, day by day when platforms are becoming so much more powerful, Figma is becoming so much more powerful, prototyping tools, image generation, video generation tools are becoming so much more easier to handle. and create stuff on. So that entry barrier is blurring. So it's a myth ki job nahi milegi or you will not get a great job. It all depends on what you're able to put together, right? So I would say go for it, man. Don't let that stop you. If it's your interest and if you're willing to work hard, because obviously, you'll have to because you don't come from that background, but sky is the limit.
Yeah, I think
I hope
Rohit.
that helps.
Rohit will get help a lot. I think इससे. I think मैं Rohit clearing that out. I'm also engineer student. मैं first year में ही हूँ अभी भी. And as Nikalank said, engineers make the greatest designs. मैंने कहा अरे भाई क्या बात है, it's in the blood.
No, it is,
Yeah.
because you've been trained to solve problems. So, if you look at how this works, you have, I don't know if you all are aware, and maybe you all should go back and read about it. There are two things that I want to talk about. One is about the 8 type of intelligences that a human being can possess, right? There's a Gartner's theory of intelligence, which you should go back and read, and it'll explain to you how the human mind is made up of, right? What kinds of intelligences are there, and then how you can develop them based on your interest and passion and your resources. That's one thing. Second thing is the left brain, right brain concept. They always talk about right brain being more creative, more explorative, and left brain being more analytical, right? The idea now is to come somewhere mid brain, right? And typically in my experience, I've seen this, and maybe I'm wrong here because of the kind of people that I've interacted with, but right brain people to go left brain is a lot more difficult than for left brain people to go right brain, right? So your engineers are left brain, right? Your typical designers, artists, creative professionals are right brain, right? So for a designer to, for example, understand finance is way more difficult than for a finance person to say pick up on design skills, right? Again, this is not a thumb rule. This is not that magic wand that you can just go by, but this is just to encourage you that uh, you need to ultimately be able to bring these two together, right? You need analytical skills with design. You need to have creative explorative skills with engineering. And this is the T-shaped talent that I always talk about. You need to have one deep spike, and then you need to have skills across the board to be exponentially valuable to a team or a company that you join, right? So yeah, I mean, all the best, Rohit, and I hope this helps.
Yeah, this actually helps. Also, Nikalank, one guy asked me this question. You can answer it in your way. Do you think can anyone become a designer?
uh, yes. In my view, I think one of the 2 3 core skills that you need to be a great designer. One is problem solving, your ability to be able to break a problem down into smaller chunks that you can work on. Second skill is storytelling. How can you inspire people to come together to work towards a solution? I think that is really really important. Third is time project management. That are you able to get the most valuable solution out in the right time, and actually create impact. So these things are, or these skills are not restricted to anyone, right? They are not, closed to a certain group or cohort or whatever. It's a question of practice. It's a question of discipline, right? And if you're willing to give that, then I think anyone can be a designer. Yes, there is definitely technical expertise that is required, and you have to be able to put effort towards that. You need to learn certain tools, certain processes, right? You need to read up a lot, which is something that people don't give enough weightage and value to. Just by knowing Figma, you will not become a designer, right? Just by knowing Photoshop or being able to work on Sora or on Firefly, you will not become a designer. You need to be able to have all of these things coming together. And like I said earlier, the entry barriers are blurring, right? Get yourself the right mentor, get yourself the right basic courses to start with, and I definitely think this field is inviting people from all walks of life, and it's only going to become more and more diverse, which is good for the field, to be honest, right? Because there are problems that people are identifying, and they're trying to solve with experience design, which is really very amazing to see.
Okay, so like we have a lot of questions. I'll take in Suraj first, as the question says.
Sure.
Hey Nikalank. So Suraj is obviously, I think you know him. He's a community advocate of Friends of Figma Mumbai, and
Hey Suraj, how are you doing, buddy?
he's asking, good to see you again. Can you mention few things that design communities should be and should not be doing? Things that they should focus on and avoid.
Okay. What they should focus on. I think there are different levels of communities. If you ask me, there are smaller group communities and there are large format communities or forums. Like design awards and design events and all of that. I think all of them are needed, if you ask me. But what you want to take away from each of these formats should be different, right? What I think they definitely should have is a more structured way of delivering content. Uh, I've seen a lot of these communities, they don't very clearly create a cohort before they do like a talk, or so it's a group of people with mixed ages of designers, mixed experiences, mixed and then that becomes kind of difficult for a person in the room to take a very clear takeaway from, because my backstory is slightly different from somebody else's. And like I said earlier also, I get a little worried about giving generic advice and just painting everything with a broad brush. I prefer giving more specific experiences so that people can really take value out of it. So I think community should definitely try and figure out, okay, is this for everyone, right? Is this something that anybody and everybody can just come in and walk in and be a part of, right? Or is this specifically for new designers? Is this specifically for students? Is this specifically for mid-level, or UI or UX or research? And then how do you create experiences and events and things like that for them? So I think that cohort definition is definitely something that communities should focus on, right? How do I get the right set of people in the room so that they can really take a lot of value out of? And similarly, I mean, what they should definitely avoid is just putting 2,000 people, 1,000 people, 500 people in a room, or on something, and then somebody just giving you very generic advice or very generic takeaways, because that then becomes slightly dangerous for the people who are listening in, or trying to plan their next few steps and things like that. And I think there is not enough focus on things outside of design. Now, if you're talking about only design communities, they tend to be more about design careers. They tend to be more about tools and things like that. But I don't know if any of them are talking about money. I don't know if anybody is really talking about technology. I don't think if anybody is talking about something like analytics and data, right? These are things which are very, very important to design. And design communities, design forums should open the eyes and the minds of this community to other aspects of value, right? I don't think it's enough to just talk only about design. Like it'll be great to see a session where somebody from a data or an analytics background comes and talks about how designers can draw value out of that, right? It'll be great to see somebody from front end engineering come and do something for experienced designers, and break that mindset. Yeah, I'm a UX designer. What have I got to do with React Native or whatever? No, you do, right? If you understand the basic fundamentals and things like that, it will really help you build the right solutions on the onset itself, right? So that makes a difference. So that's something that I would love to see in these design events and design conversations that happen. Stop talking about design, start talking about things that design is dependent on, right? Start opening the minds of young talent, entering talent on various different aspects that are actually influencing the decisions. Design decisions are not made on purely design parameters, right? They're often made on a lot of other things which the folks in the field are maybe not as sensitive to as they should be, right? So yeah, I mean, again, I hope there are some ideas, Suraj, that you can take away from there,
Yeah.
and remove this elitist thing about design. Like, it's not only for designers, right? Let's open up and let's really be inclusive. Let's really bring in people from different walks of life and get them to experience what design really stands for. That's empathy, that's inclusiveness, that's innovation and stuff like that.
Amazing. Also, Yogesh was asking how to show work like a professional.
Okay, it's a very open question. It's a very I mean, so I'll break it down. And how do you come across as somebody who a client or a senior can depend on, trust? And I'll try and reword that question like that. That it's not about how do you come across as a professional. It's about how do you come across as somebody who's really valuable in the field of design, right? Now, to answer that, then I would say focus on end to end. Okay, don't just focus on the typical template of the story. That, okay, this is the problem statement, this is the UX research I did, this is the UX wireframes I did, and this is the UI, and this is the app, right? Try and focus on a slightly higher level and say that, okay, this is what the business's service is, and this is the problem they were facing. This is the then the homework that we did, and this is the solution that we released, and this is how the solution actually landed up performing, right? So if you look at, and if you're able to tell that story end to end, then I think you'll come across as a much more thoughtful and a much more valuable person. That, okay, hey, listen, he's not just telling me what to go out and do, but he's also probably showing me a direction on how to do it, right? He's also probably showing me what I need beyond him or her, right? And is telling me that, okay, fine, how can I get people in technology to come and make this a lot more viable, or somebody in finance, and make this a better funded solution and things like that. So I would say, don't worry about coming across as a professional, worry more about coming across valuable, right? Are you really solving the problem? Did what make actually solve the problem that was given to you, right? Or did you just look at a limited view and just say that, okay, fine? And a lot of times it's not just you. So I would love to see honesty in a portfolio to say that, hey, listen, we got a design problem. We did a couple of conversations and we realized this was not just a design problem. There were a few other things. Here is a design bit that we did, but here is also the other things that happened, and the larger team came together, and then these two things came together to deliver this impact, right? We should be, like I keep saying, inclusive, right? Don't always try to own the entire thing just from a field perspective. Talk about it from a problem statement to impact perspective, and I think you'll definitely come across way more professional and valuable.
Very interesting. I think Yogesh, Nikalank answered your question very nicely. One more question to you, Nikalank, as you were talking about technology and stuff. Like, there is like 2-3 new technology items that are coming. So one is a Humane AI pen, and one is a Rabbit R1. So what do you think about these tech items, and what can they play a role? Can they play a role in design?
Again, I'm not going to specifically get into the tools, because it's like talking about, is a hammer helpful in life, right? Now, it's definitely helpful, right? Depends on what you're going out to do. Okay, these are tools with capabilities, right? It's not an all-encompassing solution set that'll make you go through whatever you want whenever you want. ऐसा नहीं होता है, right? So whether you talk about the tools that you mentioned, or you talk about any other tools that are now coming into this particular field, or in the periphery fields around, it's there is no blanket answer to that question, or yes or no, right? It is all dependent on, is it something that you need, first of all, right? Can you afford it? Okay, do you have the skills and the expertise to be able to deliver on it? And this is also in our podcast earlier, I mentioned that AI to hai, right? There, it's there, and it's coming into almost every walk of life. Very recently, I was playing with a conversation tool where I can be talking in English and it could be translating it in Chinese live as I'm talking, and playing out to the other person in their local language, preferred language, right? And there is absolutely no delay in translation. It's a phenomenal tool, right? But it has a very, very clear, specific use case. Now, if I start using that everywhere I go, it's actually going to be a hindrance. It's not going to solve my problem because the problem doesn't exist. So it all depends on, do you need it? Second thing is, do you know how to use it? We did a small test in my team in terms of 2, 3 different designers using a particular tool to create an image, right? The brief was to create a type of image. 3 different people created 3 very different images because their way of writing a prompt was very different. So it's the same tool, it's the same brief, but the output is completely different. Now, you can't blame the tool or you can't credit the tool, right? It's about how it was used, what was actually done with it, right? One of the things that I was talking to my team about was how having photography knowledge, how understanding photography is so important when you're using something like Midjourney or Firefly and whatever, because the way you write the prompt changes everything. We saw somebody with a 1-line prompt turn a much better output than somebody who wrote a 4-line prompt, right? So I honestly prefer not to answer tool related things. Is this tool right for me right now? Is this tool useful in this kind of a scenario? That definitely is a deeper conversation to have. But will this tool be useful? The answer probably always would be yes, right?
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so Rohit is asking this question. In the next month, I will complete my engineering and I'm interested in UIUX. So, can you suggest me that what should I do? Which institute should I join for this?
Okay, so you're going to complete your engineering. I think it depends on how much exposure you already have to UI UX. I mean, have you had the time to check out some of these free online courses? And if you haven't, then I would say that start there first. Okay, there are lots and lots of courses available. I don't know if you want to go and join an institute again and then again spend time and money formally. What I would say is intern at a studio. Okay, while you're doing these courses online, try and get as much hands-on experience as possible, and then in a few months, if you feel that no, you still would like to do structured learning, then go ahead and there are lots of now institutes which are doing UI UX courses ranging from 6 months to 2 to 3 years, right? Then it's a question of how much money and time you want to spend learning, and then pick one of those courses, right? There's recently I found out there's a very good institute, UID in Gujarat, which is doing some really good curriculum there. And then obviously there is Flame, and then there is Srishti, and there are a lot of other places that you can go to. But my view would be first get some hands-on practical experience. Do some of these free online courses. Go shadow a designer or go shadow somebody in a studio. Get a chance to do some live work. Get your hands dirty, and and then spend like say 5-6 months, do a few projects. It will make the interest very real for you, right? And then if you feel that no, you still need structured formal training, sure, there are many things that you can do, but jumping from one course to another, I don't know if that is an ideal way that I would recommend.
Very interesting. I think Rohit, Nikalank answered your question as well. Now one more question from my side, Nikalank. How to get into, like in design specifically, how to get into big companies? Because I think a lot of people I see in my server these days are designing for big companies and like looking to apply it over there. How does big companies like Vodafone in Idea, for example, shortlist people when it comes to sorting and choosing the right designers for themselves?
See, I would again, and this is a very, very real observation, right? The bigger the company, the the slimmer the chance of them going in for a entry level designer or a really young designer, because the risks are very high, right? The costs are very high of the kind of things that they're working on. The complications are very high of the things that they're working on. So they would probably want to secure their bets and their projects with people who are slightly more experienced, people who come from a similar background, or have done something similar before, and things like that, right? So trying to aim for a big company right out of the bat is a question of a lot of luck. It's a question of the placement program that your college might have, and these big companies wanting to hire interns and young folks and things like that. What I would say is look at small, medium, large studios, right? Get some experience there, build some network there, right? And today, if you're able to do a good job, then this journey is not very long, right? To be able to go to a big company. I mean, if you're able to do a really good job at a small studio or a medium-sized studio, then you can apply to a big company within about a year and a half's time, right? So, and don't be in a hurry. I mean, like what you can do at 21, you can do at 22 or even 23. Wanting to start working for the Microsofts or the Teslas of the world when you're 21 is putting too much pressure on yourself, right? And I would say, and I always recommend actual real world experience, right? So my thing is that the bigger they are, the tougher it will be, unless you have something really phenomenal under your belt, and I like to keep things real. So I would say look at the startup ecosystem, look at the studio ecosystem, and get yourself on a couple of projects, and then take it from there.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much, Nikalank, for that. Also, Abhiram is asking a very interesting question. He's asking things that senior designers will things that senior designers should keep a take off, who will soon be team leads should know about, and the
Things that senior designers who will soon be team leads should know about. Okay. Now, the first thing I would say is that if you're going to be leading a team, you need to understand what are the measures of success for that team, right? Because teams can be built in various different formats. Design teams are embedded in squads. Design teams are on project basis, and the expectation from design teams structured differently are fairly different. So again, some of the common things that I think you need to understand about right brain talent. If you're going to lead a team of designers, right, then you cannot be mechanical with them. Then you can't be transactional with them. Then you can't be instructional with them. One of the things that I think you can't lead a team of designers the way you can lead a team of, say, left brain talent. Left brain talent needs very different kind of direction, and right brain talent or mid brain talent needs very different kind of direction. I typically tend to get very invested in my teams to make sure that they're doing okay as people, right? Because if they are okay as people, then I think they'll bring the best to the table, and they'll bring their A game every time they're on a project. Right brain talent tends to be emotional, right? And I'm not saying that you start mollycoddling them and you become their parents, but I'm saying that you need to be able to understand the pulse of your team, right? It's important. So that's one piece of advice I would say, that get a little more invested. See, so I have regular check-ins with my team, for example, right? I do one-on-one check-ins every 3 to 4 weeks with my team, just to make sure that they're doing okay, and they've got the support that they need, or are there any challenges that I can unlock for them, and things like that. That's one thing that you should definitely do. Second thing is, you need to be able to win their trust by thinking about their development. That you need to be able to think about, okay, how is this team going to be able to learn more and do more over a period of time, right? So you need to think about the skills that they can acquire as they're working. You need to think about the courses that you can recommend them to do short sessions. Like I do a lot of quick sessions in my team, whether it is on storytelling or whether it is on UX writing, or it is on how AI is kind of changing this particular space and what the team should be focusing on. So one is, make sure that you have an idea of their emotional state of mind, and you're able to, guide them through that. Second is their career and their professional, growth, because that is something that, again, will get a lot of trust in you, and your teams will then, want to be associated for a longer period because they know that you are invested in their growth, right? So the third thing is obviously the success of the team, that you need to keep. This is a tricky one. You need to make sure that the output that your team is giving is actually valuable for the project or the company that you're in. Otherwise, you won't remain a lead for very long. So one is that you need to make sure that you're able to work with the team, but at the same time you need to make sure that you can harness the best out of the team and also deliver to the business or to the objective, right? And you need to keep an eye on both of them, because ultimately, if you're not able to really create impact with a bunch of people, then they will not remain together for too long, right? So your job is not only one way. It's not only just to look at the team, and it's not only to just deliver to the business. A good lead would be able to balance the two very, very well, right? So those would be broader 30,000 feet views of how you can be a great lead in your early days. The other thing is, be honest. If you don't know something, if there is a challenge, at least that's what I try to do with my teams. And I tell them that, hey, listen, this is not a problem that I want to solve right now, right? So let's move on, right? Or, hey, this is not a problem that you need to be working on right now, right? I think that kind of transparency also, again, builds a lot of trust and character, and your team gets a lot more, invested back in you and the project and the company and things like that. So the other things, if you have a more specific question of challenge that you're facing in a team, then I'm happy to answer that. But for that, understanding that problem is going to be very important, because teams in different stages of companies, different geographies, different whatever settings can have very different problems that they're looking to solve. I hope that helps, buddy.
Yeah, I think that was a very, very interesting answer. And like the thing that we talked about in the podcast, like when I was saying, and you were mentioning all about your journey. So I think this is the neat part about Nikalank, that he is very careful when it comes to giving advice, because when starting में भी डाला था, the specific insight from Nikalank, he said, not like advice is good, advice is there, but not every advice is the solution. So like he is very picky when it comes to advice, क्योंकि मैंने वो question भी जैसे पूछा था अभी related to rabbit R1 and stuff, he instantly take a पीछे वाला gear, भाई रुक जाओ थोड़ा, very specific नहीं बात करते हैं, because it can be controversial, I think, or sometimes
it's not just about controversial. It's just that it's in my view, it's a little bit of it misguides people.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right, and especially when you're senior, थोड़ा सा वो responsibility होती है कि यार I don't want to land up saying something कि फिर वो लगे वो बंदा दौड़ जाए उस direction में, and then you find out that okay, this is not something that worked for me, right? I think there's a question about how much experience do I need as a beginner before working or getting clients? How do I know if my work is good enough to start working? It's very simple, dude. If your work is good enough, you'll get paid. That's the easiest way of understanding if you're on the right track. So like I said, when I started out 25 years ago, the first assignment I did was a freelance assignment that I did was a logo design. I got paid 2,500 rupees for it, right? So that is the ultimate measure of success. Is somebody willing to pay you for the value that you bring? Because if somebody is willing to pay you, that means they obviously understand that you were able to give them more than what they're paying you, right? You were able to solve a pain point for them or a problem for them. That's the easiest measure of success. How much experience do I need? Again, I don't think I can tell you 1 year, 2 years, because I've seen a lot of designers, within 1 year, 1.5 years, be able to do stuff that other designers are probably doing in 2 to 3 years. Okay, so I don't think it's a question of timeline. If you ask me, I think it's a question of number of projects, right? Typically, what I've seen is that if 4 to 5 projects is when you start understanding your challenges, your aspirations, your strengths. So I would say that 4 to 5 projects will tell you what you're able to do and what you're not able to do, right? And then again, it also depends on the size of the project. So again, this is not a ki 4 project kar liye 4 din mein, and now I know what I'm doing. I would say that you should be able to do, for example, if you're a UX designer, then you should be able to work on 4 projects where you've been able to do a onboarding journey, you've been able to do a payment journey, you've been able to do some sort of UX research with at least like 40-50 customers and things like that. So if you're able to cut across such initiatives or projects and things like that, then I think that's where you will start finding your own value, and you'll be like, okay, this is what I like, this is what I'm good at, this is the kind of feedback that I got, right? So and it's not a question of years of experience. I've seen people struggle after like 5-6 years. They're still not able to articulate a bunch of wireframes across a journey. So it doesn't mean anything, right? But yes, if you get into 4-5 projects which have a fair level of complexity, then I think you'll know where you stand, right? And how much you get paid, again, depends on how you sell yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So typically being able to showcase your skills for a certain price, that again is storytelling. So I mean, it depends. It's again something.
Yeah, makes sense. Also, Nikalank, I think ये question मेरे को आया था when I was starting designing. So, how to choose a specific niche when it comes to designing? Like there is video, there is UI UX, there is graphic, there is a lot of other areas where I can get into. How did basically I narrowed down into like मेरे को अभी graphics में मजा आ रहा है तो I'll do that. But how to actually...
You just answered it.
Achha, oh.
You just literally answered it. Right? And that wo maza aa raha hai will happen only when you've done 5, 6, 7, 8 different projects.
Yeah.
And you will be able to understand. And it's okay. So I'll just take that one step further. It's not just about maza aa raha hai. It's about, are you getting paid for that maza?
Makes sense.
Right? So it's a lot of times it's not about what you're enjoying. It's always about, is it valuable? Will somebody pay you for it?
Yeah.
Right? And I'll be honest, you could be having a lot of fun doing video editing, but you could be a horrible video editor.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right? So you could be enjoying it in your eyes, but nobody is willing to pay you for it.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people who are very good at what they do, but that may not be their interest. It's just that they're good at it. Right? Their interest might be something else.
Yeah.
This you will not realize if you're not willing to, put in a few projects under your belt.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're working on a project, try and get involved in, a lot more than just what the brief to you is. Like I always push my UI designers to think about interaction. I always push my UX designers to think about the ultimate interaction. Right. And to the extent that I tell them that, okay, fine, go ahead and test the final output and come and tell me how it can be better. Right? So you should be able to push yourself more. You sit with the motion designer. If you're the UI designer and if you have a motion designer separately, sit with the motion designer, work on a few things. Next time, try it out yourself.
Yeah, makes sense. Got it.
Right? And get references. Like if you're a UI designer, don't just go and tell a motion designer, okay, hey, this is what I want. Tell them, tell the designer that here are 5 different references that I think will be great.
Yeah.
Those kind of efforts will tell you what you're good at, what is your interest, what are you enjoying, and are you going to get paid for it or not.
Got it. Makes sense. Yeah. There's one more question Rohit is asking, how to get the first freelancing client in designing, as I also have portfolio but struggling to get it, and which platform should I use to get client?
Wow. How to get a first freelancing client in designing, and I also have a portfolio but struggling. Well, you need to figure out why you're struggling, right? So you need to get your portfolio reviewed. Step number one. Okay. So somebody professional needs to look at your portfolio, and maybe you're struggling because your skill sets are not coming across, right? Maybe you're struggling because somebody who's looking at your portfolio is not able to understand your skills, or maybe you've not done a very clear job of being able to showcase your skills, right? That's step number one. I think that is the most important thing. First, get your portfolio checked. Okay, that's sanity. That's step number one. Step number two, again, you need to look at what your immediate network is like, right? And I don't think you should get fixated on a kind of freelancing assignment. I think you should try and explore various different types, that you can get into. So, reach out to studios, reach out to the other people that you know in the field and say that, hey, listen, is there a way that I can work for you? Right? Is there a project that I can, do something on along with you? Right? You decide how much and what, as in how much work I can help you with, and then let's come to like a common, price point or something like that. So I think explore more avenues. Most of the times, this struggle of where do I start? It happens because mentally we have fixated on a way we want to start. Right? We have fixated that I want to work on a logo design, or I want to work on a product, or I want to work in fintech, or I want to do something in fashion. And subconsciously, somewhere we are stuck because we want to do a certain kind of an assignment, and we want to get paid a certain amount of money for it. So I think unblock that and try and figure out, okay, how can you start with whoever you have in your current network,
Yeah, makes sense.
right?
Also, I wanted to ask, like, a lot of people were asking me this recently, the pricing when it comes to getting the clients. Do you think pricing plays an important role? Agar yes, so how to place a pricing in a way that you don't sound desperate enough, and at the same time the client is also feeling valuable?
So again, I'm going to give you an honest nugget. Um, Not sounding desperate enough is a question more of your skill of being peaceful inside. Okay. See, there are standard market rates. Okay, experienced people get paid a certain amount of, and there's a hourly rate that you can Google, and you can get a lot of content on. There are many platforms, starting from Fiverr to Upwork and all that, where you will go to these platforms, look at designers and the kind of portfolios they have and the kind of rates they're asking. Okay, so that will give you some sort of a benchmark or a pegging stool that, okay, fine, here is where I probably sit, okay, between this and that person. So there's an hourly rate you'll be able to get. Then it's about being able to understand कि अच्छा मेरा कितना time लगेगा इसमें. Now, when it comes to an assignment, it's not just how much time you'll take to do the work. It is also going to include the amount of time you're going to take to sell it to the client, iterations, editions, and all that. So, अगर तुम कोई चीज 4 घंटे में कर सकते हो, तो you will have to account for, like, say, maybe 10, 12 hours, 14 hours, because there might be a couple of rounds of iterations and things like that. So account for that. And then if you've come to say, okay, $15, $20, $50, $100 an hour, तो अगर मेरे को 14 घंटे काम करना है, तो मेरे को $1,400 इसके लिए पे करना है. And I'm saying dollars because most of these platforms are in dollars. It can be rupees also. And if you're going to decide your rate is say 5,000 rupees an hour, and you know that, okay, there is going to be 10 hours of work, then I'm going to charge 50,000 for this particular assignment, right? This is the easiest way to kind of calculate how much I should charge and where I should start, and things like that. Once you get a little more established, and once you get, you have more work under your belt, and you've been able to create a great portfolio, then you can add many more things into your costs, right? Then it's not going to be just your hourly cost. It's going to be expenses of your studio or your equipment, or all of those things. And there's a very clear mathematical way of being able to come down to how much you should charge for that, because there is going to be a return on investment of whatever you've been able to build for yourself as infrastructure. And this, any good CA will be able to tell you that, okay, fine, over and above your time, this is how much you should be able to bill, so that you can recover the money that you're investing in building your infra, right? So again, to answer that question simply, enough and more benchmarks. We can have a more sharper conversation if you want only on this, in terms of how do you get started. There are many people who have created content on this, but
Yeah, exactly.
research, go out and research, and then start putting yourself somewhere, and then sometimes it's also about testing price points, right? So if you're talking to like 2-3 different people about a similar project, give them 3 different prices and see, now it can also be about how much money they want to spend and all that. So keep that in mind, and then that will kind of help you understand the best pricing that works for you, right? I think that's the best way to go about
Makes
it.
sense. Also, what do you think about Chris Do? Because I think you heard of the future Chris Do, the person who.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, so basically
I
he's
I'm
like
not.
very famous in these content areas when it comes to design influencers. He's like the top,
Okay.
at the top. Like I can clearly say it.
Okay.
Like a lot of people
Okay.
worldwide follow him. You can look up his
Okay.
name. It's wait,
I will. I will.
I'll chat over here with you. It's Chris Do. Yeah. So
Okay.
he's running this agency slash platform called as The Future, where he's
Okay.
publishing a lot of content when it comes to designing, selling, pricing, and how to be a better designer overall. And like सिर्फ designer नहीं, as a freelancer in any other field, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's pretty cool.
he's like at the top. So वही पूछा था if have you heard of him or not? Because अब वो like
No, not yet. Now I have.
yeah,
I'm definitely going to go through the content.
definitely.
Looks very promising.
Yeah, and in the next call we'll definitely discuss about him.
Oh, see, I like this guy. If you look at his page, he says ready for private consulting, $5,000.
Yeah,
Right. So I'm pretty sure he's been able to go through various different, trials and tribulations, as he says on the top of his page, where he says, okay, fine, now this is the kind of money that I think I'm happy with, charging for the value that I bring. And I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
he has a very clear understanding of,
Yeah.
अगर मैं $5,000, if I am going to charge $5,000, how do I give worth, a lot more than that? So,
yeah. See, that's what I keep telling people na in the server. When you are building and when you are taking clients, do you think delivering 2 times can be helpful sometimes and help build a longer term game with the client? Do you think it helps?
So, there's a saying in English, under promise, over deliver. Right?
Yeah.
So, which basically means that you're creating delight, right? So I wouldn't honestly just say under promise. I would say that, promise what you think you bring to the table. And every time you over deliver, you will definitely see the value of it come back to you. Right? I have learned most of my things by trying to always give that little extra. Right? You'll see a lot of brands have now started doing this. So my wife also has a small brand where she also does this, where when she gets a customer who orders a few items from her, she will always add this extra one item from her side, as like that delight free, element. And that's all about over delivering. That's all about, saying that, hey, listen, I had a lot of fun working on this. And here's a little more from my side, right? Or hey, you're a valuable customer to me, or a client to me, and here's a little more from my side. So, if nothing else, the value that comes back to you is learning, right? So every time you try to push yourself, it will tell you how much more you're capable of, right? So, a definite plus, a definite yes. Try and always and strong believer in karma, yaar. I mean, if you do right by somebody else, it will definitely come back.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nikalank, for that. And also, would you be interested in going live again any day, like coming soon, thoda time baad, and rate portfolios of people? Because I think that's where a lot of people need help, like Behance profiles and stuff like that.
So I don't mind going live again, and I don't want to do rating of portfolios, but I can do reviews.
Yeah, reviews. Yeah.
Right. So and the difference is that I don't want to say 8 on 10, 9 on 10, 5 on 10, but I can definitely, tell you how to, or what I feel you can add to it, or how you can make it better. That for sure, because I think ratings are an opinion,
Yeah.
Reviews are,
Yeah.
a more clearer way of adding constructive value to what you're doing.
Yep. So I think this was the last question from my side as well, and I think with everyone
cool.
we have done the session. I think 1 hour is almost complete. Thank you so much, Nikalank, for spending time here at Designer once again, and I was delighted to serve you one more
Always
time.
a pleasure, buddy. Always a pleasure.
And I'll see you in the next one.
I hope it helps.
Yeah, I think a lot of people actually gained a lot of insights, and they will be DMing over here. बस थोड़ा सा delay है, तो they get थोड़ा
Okay.
late replies.
So
Yeah.
all the best, guys. I mean,
Yep,
have faith in yourself, and
they're-
all the best.
So thank you so much, Nikalank, for actually showing up today and actually answering all of the questions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Yes,
everyone,
buddy.
for joining in. And I'll see you in the
Take
next
care.
one.